Arcadia Queenie had a peep over the right shoulder and she's going to blow them away. But Northerly, Danny Miller pumping away and Northerly wins the railway.
Welcome to Racing Rewind. Our panel will review and digest the Prime WA Saturday Thoroughbred meeting from 24 hours earlier. If you have an opinion, send a text to 0427 789 571.
Galaxy Star draws away from them. Pike Magician.
Yes, get on that text line 0427 789 571. It is Racing Rewind. A very good morning, Lochie and Michael.
Good morning, Marty, Michael and listeners. What a day it was there on course yesterday. One of the biggest days of the Autumn Carnival. Schweppes WATC Derby Day, and it certainly delivered.
Yeah, absolutely. Some really, really good performances there. Congratulations to a lot of good men's connections and Trevor Andrews, Jared Noski. He's now won a Northerly and a Derby in the space of 5 or 6 months. So he's becoming a really good big race rider, and some off-speed performances there yesterday as well. We didn't have any on-speed horses win. They were all coming from off the speed. That Sou'wester came in the second half of the day, so I thought it was good for a bit of a change of pattern. Always nice to see.
Absolutely. You actually referenced that in our coverage live, which was probably one of the smarter things you've done in your time. Made the call nice and early that the Sou'wester had kicked in, and certainly cover was key at the back end of the meeting yesterday, and that's how it transpired.
It's not hard, mate. There's flags in the middle of Ascot. You look at them, if they're going that way, you know it's an Eastleigh. If they're going that way, you know the sea breeze is.
I know, that's why I was extra proud of him.
Did you tell him?
No, I didn't. That's why I was proud. He worked it out himself.
Suspension out of yesterday's meeting. Jason Brown has copped 10 days, which he starts last night. That was on Mighty Hosanna in the 2-year-old race. Outside of that, there weren't a lot of other action in the steward's report. Jared Noski received a $300 fine for his celebration prior to the winning post, a $50 fine for the use of the club's colours for Paul Jordan, and YME returned with an elevated heart rate and mild lameness following the derby. But outside of that, it was a pretty clean meeting.
Okay, a bit to get through, but we've got to get through some of these texts as well, so you can help us out as well, you two gentlemen, because a lot of it's AFL. Morning, when will the Freo selectors realise that Taberner is finished and Hughes still shows he's just short of AFL standards? And yes, Walters hopefully just had a shocker, and Longmuir, train your team to kick at least 12 goals a game. That's from Frank.
That's a great text message, Frank.
Can't disagree with any of that.
Boys, Ugal Haggard is a topical front runner, doesn't do any 1%ers, all about him. If he doesn't mark, it's game over. That's from Snoz.
I think he's going to be elite. I would think Jamara down the track, or this young forward making his way.
Yeah, I'd rather be Jamara than Norton.
100%.
Unless they put him back.
How old's Jamara? He's 20 or something.
Only a kid, yeah. All right, we'll get to some more of them soon, but let's work through racing and this domination by the Parnhams. Now, let's talk about this straight off the top.
Just continues and continues. What was it, 8 of the 9 last week, and halfway through yesterday's meeting, we all were saying, here we go again.
Any chance of getting him back on the Stallion roster, Neville?
That is for sure. And before we make... we continue on with Ascot, we've got to make special mention to Peter Fernie's effort up on the goldfields.
He's five.
First 5. Trained the first 5.
Yep.
And a couple of Quinellas in there to boot as well. So well done to Peter. He started the season, so he's trained 8 winners in 2 meetings.
I think, was it the last race might have been a photo finish that he ran second in as well? So he could have, I think it was his horse that ran second maybe to Chris Willis's.
Could have easily been 6 of the 7.
Yeah, and Paul Tapper and Chris Willis training the last 2 winners there up on the goldfields yesterday. But let's concentrate on Derby Day out there at Ascot, and here was the first.
Then Show the Way, who's camped in 5th placing before the turn, a length and a half in front of Tactics with 400 to go. 2 away, Mighty Hosanna on the outside of Flower of Gold, and then followed by Apache Adios, the last one into the straight, My Petra. Gold Flakes had turned for home. Battle Commander settled in for the fight. Gold Flakes and Battle Commander. Show the Way's coming up. They make a line of 3. Spices right in behind them. Tactics and boxing on is Arduet, but going to the lead now. Show the Way with Battle Commander. Show the Way doing the better, and Show the Way saw them home. From Battle Commander, Tactics I think has run 3rd ahead of Spices right 4th as they got to Gold Flakes.
Yes, he did run 3rd. Tactics was a nice run behind them, but Show the Way wins, beats Battle Commander. I saw your interview with Paul Jordan on X before the race. He was quietly confident Battle Commander would be hard to beat, dropping back in trip, and Tactics was very impressive in 3rd for mine.
show the way. All honours to him, however. Breaking maiden status there yesterday. Just had a lovely run in behind the speed. 1,200 back to the 1,000. Perhaps wasn't suitable for him, but it was interesting to note post-race Neville Parnham noted that he can get a little bit keen in his races, so perhaps the drop back to the 1,000 actually suited him. So whilst moving forward, he'll definitely be suited at 12 and 1,400 metres, maybe that drop back to the 5 furlongs. He just needed to teach him what it's all about, just being able to relax him behind the speed, and from there found the line really well. He's a big strapping type by Duchemus, and interesting to note that Santo Boliardo has actually purchased Duchemus off the back of Neville Parnham's recommendation. So clearly Neville thinks a lot of the stallion, and I guess that opinion of the stallion was vindicated there yesterday in the first.
So Duchemus will stand with Rommel.
By the sounds of things, yes.
He can throw a 2-year-old, can't he?
Yeah, I noticed Neville gave Duchemus a good rap after the race. Yeah. That's obviously why.
Yeah, absolutely. Looks a sort of 2-year-old running type as well, even though he's a decent enough size, and was the only horse to reel off the sub-34 sectional in the race. 33.99 I thought was quite impressive. Battle Commander's been a model of consistency. He's had 8 or 9 runs this preparation. Interesting whether or not he backs up into the Karrakatta Plate next week. I got the feeling pre-race, Paul Jordan was hesitant to say yes or no because it depended how everything panned out, but I got the feeling that he might not. And Tactics was a really good run. Looking at him in the yard, I wrote down on my form guide, 3-year-old. I just thought just looks that sort of unfurnished type, good size, and he probably needs a bit of development, the same as your horse there, Lochie, Mighty Hosanna, who's an absolute cracking type to look at, but just looks a real 3-year-old sort for mine. And I thought Tactics' effort was really impressive to get held up a little bit and be the strongest through the line just about.
I think when you're reviewing this race, you need to note that 6 of the 10 horses here were Karrakatta nommed, and a lot of them were lightly raced. So when you put 2 and 2 together, a lot of these horses were just trying to qualify for the Karrakatta, but they're probably not really genuine 2-year-old types because they haven't been exposed all that much prior to yesterday. So when you're reviewing this race, whilst it didn't look like a strong 2-year-old race, I think it's going to consist of plenty of horses that come back as better 3-year-olds in 6 months' time.
Yeah, lightly raced. I think the only winner in the race was Battle Commander, and he won last start after 8 starts, so it was essentially a maiden field. Gold Flakes presented really well yesterday and hit the line okay, and Spice Is Right is another horse who probably looks like it will be better next preparation, big solid type. Outside of that, Mighty Hosanna didn't have the blinkers on, had the blinkers on in the recent trial, had to go back from the draw, made even late ground. You'd think with the barrier and race experience should be an improver.
Yep, without doubt, she's a nice filly.
Second event was the Tab Touch Westspeed Platinum Handicap over the 1,200 metres.
Then Didiro over on the fence. Tenacious Rewards back second last, about 6 or 7 from the leaders. They're about to corner, and Bred to Flirt whips them in. So around the turn, Kelvin first into the straight from El Patron. Norwich going up is Enchanting Sound. Lucky's way out wider. Kripalenko Collective behind those. Diamond Rocks looking for a run. Tenacious Reward and DT on the outside. Lucky's way is raced up, coming through Enchanting Sound. Enchanting Sound and Lucky's way. Enchanting Sound has to head in front. Enchanting Sound just from Lucky's way. Norwich third. Tenacious Reward, I think, fourth. Bred to Flirt's made good ground.
There's the win by the Gingerbread Man mare. Enchanting Sound for Neville. And on this occasion was ridden by Chris Parnham again.
Really, really tough win from this mare, Enchanting Sound. 3 deep, no cover throughout. And I know they didn't look like they set any records in this race, but she had to do it the hard way. Lucky's way, the second horse, actually had her back in running, had every possible chance, headed her at around the 200-metre mark, and then she actually fought back underneath that horse and was able to salute. It was a super performance. Whilst we always say that these Westspeed Platinum races aren't great form references, it just looks like she's come back bigger, stronger, Enchanting Sound, and she just looks like she wants to find the line. So I'm happy to continue to follow her. Really good win yesterday, and so often we see Gingerbread Mans, whilst we've seen them get up nice and early and they have saluted as 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds, some of them do just take that little bit of time, and I think that's the case for her as well. So happy to see where she goes next.
Yeah, pretty even field, but a really good win and a nice return last start, and then second up yesterday. Enchanting Sound did it the Tradesman way and still too good. Lucky's way hit the line well. Norwich had a nice enough run in transit, only beats in a length. I quite liked the effort of Tenacious Reward there in fourth because he was an enormous winner first up from a fresh and over 1,200 metres, and I tipped him yesterday, but I guess in hindsight, he has raced up to 1,800 metres previously. He's placed on Saturdays at 1,600 metres, and he just looked like he wanted further. He was finishing well enough, but just wanted more ground.
Would you agree it looked like a horse that the edge had been taken off him off the first up run?
Yeah, absolutely. That first up win was just dynamite. He was trucking. He was, as soon as he got an inch of room, he just burst through, whereas yesterday he just looked like he maintained the same speed, but he just wanted an extra couple of furlongs. So I think stepping to a 1,400 or even further this preparation, there's certainly some more wins in him. Diamond Rocks I thought was a bit unlucky, didn't get a huge amount of room in the straight, and Bred to Flirt actually ran home in the fastest closing splits. I thought was quite good in traffic. DT resumed first up, no trial yesterday, got a fair way back and didn't make too much of an impression, but you'd think would be improving off of that. And Kripalenko, probably the disappointment. Didn't seem to get a bit fierce in the run, but was a good winner last start. Stepped to 1,200 metres yesterday for the first time and ran last, so perhaps better 1,000 to 1,100.
Enchanting Sound is a really interesting one to go back to the winner. It's been a theme of Neville Parnham's stable over the last 2 or 3 weeks. There's been...
What, winning?
Yes, but they're not exactly superstars that are just flying through the grades. A lot of them, you look at the likes of a Star Power, Flower in the Wind, and now Enchanting Sound, Ultimate Command. Ultimate Command, while she won as a 2-year-old, she was up and going nice and early. The other 3 that I mentioned, they've taken some time to hit their straps, and finally, just through racing and just, I guess, holding their hand over a period of time, they've come back bigger and better. Star Power made it 3 in a line last start, and Enchanting Sound, great first up, super there yesterday. It's interesting to note, it might just be something to keep an eye on, some of these Neville Parnham
slow maturing types,
4-year-olds that have had 10, 15 starts. A lot of them over the last 2 or 3 weeks are showing that they've come back much better this time in.
Well, I didn't really come good to my late 20s, so maybe
you've come good, have you?
Third event,
I peaked early.
Classic, 1,200 metres, and this was a predictable result.
3, moving toward the 500. Rear Admiral just in front of Strathmore Rose. They're about to corner. Baby Paris is on the inside. Real Danger going up 3 wide. Mrs. Spree peeling around its heels, and Megami is the last one to turn for home. Rear Admiral into the straight in front. Real Danger getting to the outside. Baby Paris looking for an inside run. Rear Admiral joined by Baby Paris getting up on the rail. Real Danger on the outside to 3 Fancies. Come away to fight it out. Baby Paris first up. Real Danger tries. Baby Paris holding Real Danger, and Baby Paris 3/4 to Real Danger. Mrs.
Yes, up on the fence there for Jags. He beats Real Danger and Mrs. Spree back in third.
Some of these small fields create great tactical affairs that are just really exciting to watch. Baby Paris, most expected she'd find the front, but she was quickly crossed by Rear Admiral and Strathmore Rose, so Troy Turner had to go to plan B, and from there it was always going to be an interesting watch because Chris Parnham and Real Danger was to her outside, and you know when a jockey like Chris Parnham is to the outside of a main danger, there is no way in hell that you're getting out of that pocket, and that's exactly what occurred. Chris ensured that Jagsy had nowhere to go but the fence, and therefore it became a really exciting race. If you were on Baby Paris, I'm sure there were a few nervous moments, but thankfully for Baby Paris backers, she had that gap up the rail, and from there found the line really, really nicely. Best horse in the race, best weighted horse in the race, and she got the job done despite a really interesting drift late.
Mind-boggling, that drift. It was similar to, was it Sir Dreamalot? I think Brad McManus made a good point to me yesterday. That was a huge drifter recently when...
Before he won the Perth Stakes?
Yeah. And
the Supremacy, sorry.
The Supremacy, was it? And Baby Paris yesterday as well, just... I couldn't put my finger on it. She was thrown in at the weights, trialled brilliantly, looked the winner on paper. I think pretty much everybody had that opinion, and yet somehow, I think on some agencies, Rear Admiral just about started favourite and was poorly in at the weight. So it was a really interesting affair, and I liked that drone shot through the early stages of yesterday's meeting. Some people didn't like it, but the first 100 or 200 I thought was good because you could see Baby Paris actually jumped with them yesterday. Then Rear Admiral was just simply too fast, but had to have a little bit of luck, but ended up winning in really good time, 1:10 flat, and the other 1,200 metre races on the day were well over 1:11. So I thought she was a good winner in that sense. Real Danger's been up for a while and was still performing very, very nicely, beaten 3/4 of a length. Loved the run of Mrs. Spree, though. Bombed the start, which is unusual for her. We've seen this mare usually lead, and she came from a long way back. She was 39 points less than Baby Paris yesterday. 39, and only carried 3.5 kilos less and hit the line better than anything. So she's a big follow. There's a stack of options for her, whether it's graduations or midweeks, or I think she's only a Class 1, so she's a big follow. And Rear Admiral potentially just went a bit hard and probably coming towards the end of her preparation as well.
Absolutely. She's had a very long campaign, but has been consistent throughout it. Speaking to Mr. Webb post-race, he suggested that Baby Paris will head to the Sheila Gwynn Classic in 2 weeks' time, which is listed. The Marjorie Charleston isn't, and the Sheila Gwynn is over 1,400 metres. So whilst Baby Paris box-seated yesterday, you'd think Strathmore Rose wouldn't go there. You would think Rear Admiral wouldn't go there. So it wouldn't surprise me to see Baby Paris controlling things out in front. And Real Danger is also Joey nominated for next Saturday. So she may head that way, which means Baby Paris would be a very short-priced favourite in a race like that, which could be interesting with a potential clash with a mare like Malkar Pindari, who was outstanding last Saturday.
Yep. She has won 8 from 16 now and 740,000, including Westmead.
Love seeing those colours. Salute, Mark.
Oh, they're
absolutely
great.
Love
Great.
it.
Gary Bowen and the team. And
did you know Gary was, up until about 6 months ago, he'd actually never seen her win in the flesh? And he got the monkey off the back about 6 months ago, and now he comes every time.
I think it was, in December.
Okay.
So every other win, he wasn't on course. Every time she got beat, he was. Now her last 2 wins, he's been on course.
What was the knock on the drone shot?
I think some trainers didn't like that it was on there for too long, so I think they adjusted it, which was good. I think it initially might have been on there for, 400 metres?
Yeah.
And then when it was switching to the regular shot, trainers were complaining that they couldn't see where their horse was in running because it was a bit confusing, whereas they tightened it up the second half of the day, media tech, and made it only 100 or 200 metres, and I think everyone was pretty happy with it after that.
Well.
Yep.
Okay, on to race number 4 was the Mrs. Max handicap over the 2,400 metres.
Going up on the outside. They're followed further back to Flower in the Wind, getting around the outside of Luke's Piero. Savorsky off from the back, deeper out. Let's Deal back behind those. Then Ray, and last into the straight is Strawberry Mist as they turn for home. Flower in the Wind has gone up the tackle. She's perfection. Savorsky on the outside. Flower in the Wind in front beyond the 200. Savorsky tries to get to Flower in the Wind. Flower in the Wind is holding Savorsky. Flower in the Wind, she's in full bloom. It is another clinic from the Parnhams. Flower in the Wind a length over Savorsky second. 2 lengths Luke's Piero.
Well, at about the 600, what price would she have been in the run?
$1.50, I hope. Less?
Yeah, she was just bolting, wasn't she?
Did you like the call from Matty Mack?
Yeah, it was good.
No? In full bloom.
He called really well yesterday. Well done to him.
He did. Bit of spice on that one. Flower in the Wind, she is just absolutely flying, travels into her races so well, and Steve Parnham is riding her with such great confidence. He said off-air to Scott Embry before they started their interview that it's very rare, or it's been a long time since he's felt like William Pike on a horse, and that's how he described the win yesterday. He just was kidding to himself with the manner in which she travelled into the race, and from there, interesting to note, he actually hasn't needed to pull the stick the last 2 starts. She has just been that dominant. And
she might go better.
That's in Steve's opinion. He just feels like he doesn't need to use the whip. She's doing her best without using the persuader, and yeah, she's just flying through the grades. She won't head to the 3,100 metre Jericho qualifier in Albany, so Neville Parnham has some thinking to do in regards to where she goes around next, but a horse of her rating, you'd think there'd be plenty of options, and if there weren't an option in the next 2 or 3 weeks, I suspect she wouldn't be a bad Kalgoorlie coupler.
Yeah, I was thinking that as well. I liked the drone shot again with the start of this race because this mare drew barrier 3 and she'd been settling probably sort of second half of the field, midfield previously, and I was interested in this speed map whether Stevie would use the barrier and be maybe 1-1, which she easily could have. But you could see in the drone shot how patient he was. He just grabbed hold.
Rode her like the best horse.
Yeah, absolutely. And he just didn't ask her for an effort through the early stages, and she ended up settling. I think it was even as far as 1 out 3 back, 1 out 4 back. So she, even though she drew low, he wasn't forced to use that barrier, and he just rode her in her comfort zone, and she finished off accordingly. Savorsky backed up off 3 days, which we always love to see, dropped 5 kilos. Senior went on and ran a nice race to run second.
And was well backed late.
Yeah.
I was thinking, here we go again. Yeah. The Websters are at it.
Luke's Piero actually tipped this horse in the Geraldton Cup 6 days earlier and didn't do much, but backing up off 6 days yesterday was a good effort, and Let's Deal, who was the class runner, Wasn't a bad run ever either. He's probably just caught in a bit of a tricky spot, isn't he, at the moment, that deal?
Yes, absolutely. With his rating, having to carry the 60.5 in a race like that and giving a mare like Flower on the Wind, who is in such good form, 2.5 kilos, he's just in a tricky place at the moment.
He got caught in a tricky spot in the race too.
For a big horse.
No knock on Shooter, but he's just not that horse who can be sort of back inside of the
sit sprint.
Held up, yes.
She's Perfection, ran 5th beaten 6.5. I was a knocker on her yesterday, but having a look at her, she's a beautiful type of a filly. Really nice type, big, strong, and she did run a nice race in the Oaks. But she's still a maiden, so dropping back to maiden grade, you'd think there'd be a win in her coming up pretty soon.
Certainly. Other than that, I don't think there's a great deal to report. A lot of these horses are racing well outside the handicap, so I don't think it's a great form reference moving forward, other than just continue to follow this winner, Flower on the Wind.
On to race number 5. This was the Pepsi Max Handicap over 1,400.
On the inside is Cool Memory back behind the leaders. Then the next trio on patrol on the outside of Miss Rockjoy, who covers State of Fury. And then Sapphire Street, New Music back to last as they corner. Bondi Plunge went up with Stylish Lord to grab, influencing into the straight. Centre Bond is still there. Out wider on patrol, and from the back is Sapphire Street running on well. Bondi Plunge had gone to the lead. On patrol is grabbing Bondi Plunge. Sapphire Street coming at on patrol. Sapphire Street has grabbed on patrol, and Sapphire Street from on patrol. Bondi Plunge, I think, third. New Music making ground. Centre Bond still there boxing on from Stylish Lord.
Yes, a good win there by the Street Boss filly, Sapphire Street. Tell us about the race, Loch.
A really nice filly. We've seen in the past, Mart, that this filly on her day has a devastating turn of foot, and that was on display. Chris Parnham, barrier 11 of 11, went straight back to last. In his post-race interview, he basically conceded that you just have to ride her to produce that finish late, and that's exactly what she showed yesterday. Had the back of On Patrol, who I think has returned in super order. He'll actually be one of my follows out of yesterday's meeting. I think he's flying, but Sapphire Street with that soft run in behind the speed and a lovely toe into the race. She was the filly with the best turn of foot in yesterday's event, and that was on display yesterday.
100%. She looked really well yesterday. She's quite a small filly, and I was surprised. She appeared to have sort of almost strengthened up, but she'd been up a little while. But then I think it was a month between runs, and Danny said up post-race that she'd had a freshen up back at the farm, so it does make a little bit of sense. But I was keen to follow On Patrol as well. I have tipped this horse the last 2 starts. No luck first up, and yesterday I thought was a really good run, but before I locked him in as a follow, just went back and watched it again, and the fact that Sapphire Street had 4.5 kilos more, sat behind him and went straight past him, geez, I think the win of Sapphire Street's even better, but I do think there's a win around On Patrol, 4 On Patrol around the corner. The stablemates of the winner, Bondi Plunge, has been tough as nails. 3 wide, no cover the trip the last 2 starts, and has gone absolutely super. She's only a little filly as well. So
it just travels into her races so well. It's almost like she appreciates doing it the hard way.
Yep, 100%. Also Centre Bond, who I think is a really nice horse. He is only coming out of maiden grade, but won really impressively, and loved the way that he travelled up into it, and I think he's going to make the grade in time. He can be a follow as well, actually, because he's eligible for so much easier. But I thought the luckless horse was New Music, had nowhere to go, hit the line as well as anything, bolting in behind them, but just held up most of the straight. So I'm going to make New Music a follow. Influencing was 4 from 4 going into yesterday, just an end of prep run, I think. He ran second last, beaten 8 lengths, which is too bad to be true, vetted without any abnormalities after the race. And Stylish Lord was a nice enough effort, considering they did roll along this race to only be beaten 2 lengths.
I agree. I'm keen to follow Centre Bond out of this meeting as well. He just looks big and raw.
Yep.
I think eventually he'll really appreciate a set of blinkers or winkers, but it wouldn't surprise me if Graham Ballantyne and Jason Whiting are just keeping the heck gear off him for now, just to let him figure out what racing's all about. But he certainly looks like the type of horse that would appreciate just being able to sharpen up a fraction with some use of some blinkers or winkers, and that would really improve him.
Okay, it is almost 25 minutes away from 9 o'clock, so we're about to take a break, halfway stage of proceedings. Here's a text from Bruce in Highgate. So we want to have a little bit of input from you two, boys. Good morning, boys. I'd love to have been a fly on the wall back at the stables after Queen Elizabeth Stakes yesterday to hear the true thoughts of trainers and connections of the runners. Chris Wallace stated he was disappointed, which was a diplomatic response. His real opinion, I'm sure, is vastly different. What were those jockeys thinking? The best riders in the nation and not one of them rated their rides. 2 minutes 02 wasn't an overly fast time. Track work riders would have done a better job. Did stewards question the lack of urgency? Congrats to Declan Bates and pride of Jenny on bold tactics. I'm just dirty because I had Via Sistina anchoring all my multis. That's Bruce of Highgate.
There's a little bit to unpack in that text message, Bruce. I think the first thing is that the stewards did question Craig Williams in particular.
Yes,
he was cleared of any wrongdoing. I think it's a good read going on the Racing New South Wales website and going through the in-depth questioning in regards to Craig's ride on Mr. Brightside. The second thing to unpack in that text message is that I think largely in the public eye, I listened to Chris Waller's interview and I also listened to the Beaten Jocks. I think they pretty well said what they were thinking.
I heard the Beaten Jocks as well, and J-Mac said embarrassed.
Yep. Ben Mellum said something similar. Even Chris Waller's interview, you could tell he wasn't happy because he basically said...
What are they doing?
They all did nothing. Yeah. So, I don't think he actually needed to be a fly on the wall. I think they were all that annoyed that they just said it publicly.
J-Mac would have been referring to himself, I'm assuming, embarrassed?
No, I think he was embarrassed by the jockeys in front of him.
Right.
So no one took him into the race?
Yes.
So why can't he take himself into the race?
That's what
exactly.
I thought he meant, that he was embarrassed that he should have made a move or something. No.
Oh, I'm still not convinced that if they had ridden it different, they would have beaten her. She was just...
Well,
I know the
Chris Waller
202
did say
throws
that.
it off a bit, doesn't it?
Chris Waller did say that perhaps she probably would have been too good anyway, but he at least would have liked to see
someone try.
Yeah.
Okay, let's take a break.
Thanks for your message, though, Bruce.
You are listening to Racing Rewind on Tab Radio Racing and Sport.
From the inside, Ollie's choices wider out, going around Zafira. I think further back above the peg, then strike down. The Spruker is last. They corner for home. Going up Exel Train to run up to Gift of the Heart and go to the lead momentarily as LA is chiming in, and also Dessinee. Ollie's choice and above the peg, wider out. They race on down beyond the 100 now. Ollie's choice has gone up with Dessinee, and Ollie's choice is starting to pull away. It's Ollie's choice day. Ollie's choice wins 2 lengths. Dessinee running on Zafira well, might have snatched third from LA.
Well done to the Pierce boys getting Ollie's choice across the line. It's been frustrating for them. They put Pike on and got the result.
They certainly did. There's no doubt about it that this horse has come back a better horse this preparation in the care of the Pierce brothers. They've made a few gear changes behind the scenes and he's been racing so consistently, and that was just reward for effort. Simple as that yesterday. Lovely ride from William Pike, barrier 10 of 11, just had a beautiful run, midfield with cover, peeled out to the middle of the track, and he put them away like he's been promising to do all preparation without luck. He's won this race by almost 2 lengths. Not sure where he goes to next. The boys suggested that they're mindful of the fact that he has been up for a while now, and clearly, even if he does go to the paddock, this campaign has still without doubt been a success because he's picked up plenty of prize money for his owners. But I think most importantly, they've learnt a lot about the horse and they can use those learnings to produce him next campaign, and they know exactly how to place him moving forward.
Yeah, 100%. Yesterday they could make ground. He had a trouble-free run. I think he was about 1 out, 3 back, and just didn't have any excuses yesterday, and he wins. It was as simple as that. He's had torrid luck all preparation. He's been slipping on out of the gates. He's been racing 3-4 wide, no cover, and still running places. He's just needed conditions and race to suit, and he got that yesterday. William Pike jumped aboard for the first time, and the planets aligned, but he won really well in the end, nearly 2 lengths, the beaten margin. Dessinee was the horse I tipped into. I was still happy with the effort, thought it was a nice run second up. There's a win around the corner for him. Zafira, I thought the trials were better than read on paper going into the race. She was not asked for much of an effort, but she appeared to be travelling pretty well. She's a first-up horse, and I wasn't surprised to see her run a cheeky race there at a big price yesterday. But LA surprised me a little bit. Didn't think the trial was all that good, and made a sustained run there, but was able to run 4th in a pretty nice performance, a really nice return. Not so much the disappointment, but the unlucky runner was Ice Pick Nick, who got crossed early by Gift of the Heart, who ended up running last, and Ice Pick Nick just had nowhere to go. A lot of people were keen on this horse yesterday, and unfortunately was held up most of the straight and wasn't asked for a full effort after that because he wasn't in contention. So hopefully, maybe we'll see him back up next week, seeing he didn't exert himself much.
And unfortunately, we didn't really get a great look at him at 1,400 metres. Dan Morton was a little bit reserved in regards to stepping him out to the 7 furlongs. We didn't learn a lot yesterday.
Okay, the big one, the Schweppes WATC Derby.
Then Why Me, Buckets Ridge and Own the Queen. The fillies on a move around them as they come to the turn, and they're tight and compact, only about 3 lengths first to last. They're about to race into the straight. In Good Order's gone up to hit the front. A lot of good men giving chase. Buckets Ridge, Own the Queen. Rocking Society is still there. A lot of good men has reached the lead. Lord Vampy has come through. In Good Order over on the inside, but it's a lot of good men clear. 2 in front, 3 in front. Buckets Ridge taking ground off together with Lord Vampy, but it's a lot of good men. A lot of good men. 2 lengths to either Buckets Ridge or Lord Vampy. In Good Order, Rocking Society, Autumn Rebels.
Well, there it is. This year's WATC Derby. We read out yesterday the honour roll of this race. It goes back in history to be one of our greats. And one of the great trainers in WA is Trevor Andrews, who trained the winner. He joins us now. A busy man this morning. He's already taken his winner out for a swim, they tell me. I've seen a text of him. A very good morning, Trick.
Yeah, morning, gents. How we going?
Very well, not as well as you, Trev. Good morning to you. First things first, how were the celebrations last night with those very, very happy group of men?
Rowdy men.
Yes.
Yeah, very, very good. Yeah, we just went to the Broken Hill Hotel with most of the connections and celebrated well. Feeling a bit worse for wear this morning, but I'm happy to be in this situation.
Morning, Trev. Congratulations. The horse hasn't run a bad race all campaign, but did you have some queries in the back of your mind, maybe going back to a few starts ago, of just whether or not he would stay?
Yeah, absolutely. We just sort of took each race as it sort of come, so to speak, and obviously the Mel Vista was the question mark whether he was going to be able to get to the Derby, and so we rode him pretty negative in that. Jared was really patient on him and just got him to switch off, and he found the line really well, and his sectionals were great, so it gave us a bit of hope that he was a chance. But once again yesterday we had to be negative again on him and just get him to switch off. But beautiful ride by Jared. It's one for the archives. It was a magic ride.
Trev, I know you're big on assessing data from your horse's track work. Behind the scenes, has a lot of good men always given you the impression in his work that he'd run out a strong 2,400 metres?
When you look at data, you find the middle distance horses have a really good recovery. Their heart rate sort of comes back to quite a low rate post work or race or whatever, and he's always showed signs of that. Generally, the horses with a sharper turn of foot are more shorter distance, sprinting types. But his data sort of told us that he certainly get 1,800, 2,000. But yesterday's race was a pretty genuine derby. I think it was the fastest derby in the last 10 years. So it wasn't as if it was a walk and a sprint. So he generally got the 1.5 miles very strongly.
The Derby has been a breeding ground for railway stakes performers in recent years. I know the dust hasn't quite settled yet, but I'm sure there would have been plenty of opinions getting thrown around last night during the celebrations. Is that the natural thought at this stage, just to tip him out for a good break and come back for the Ascot Spring?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, he'll go to the paddock tomorrow and have him back for the railway, and hopefully he can do what his brother Bustler did. There's plenty of nice options for him. He's been really competitive in a lot of races. Probably a little bit luckless in the Northerly and in the Guineas, so to speak. But there's plenty of options for him. So he'll do good with a well-earned break.
I love the training, Trev. You made those gear changes before the Mel Vista, taking the winkers off, putting the crossover on. It just seemed to settle the horse down in his racing pattern.
Yeah, we had the winkers on him just to sort of switch him on a little bit, and then obviously when you step up over more ground, it's all about relaxing and sort of breathing and to be able to have a turn of foot. So pretty good changes, and just riding a little bit quieter, getting the switch off has been the big key to him. But happy to get the result. It doesn't always work out, but happy to get the result.
Beyond the next campaign, Trev, and I guess off the back of yesterday, we've seen him so versatile. In our post-race interview, you mentioned the fact that prior to yesterday, he'd actually won 3 times over 1,200 metres or less. After yesterday, do you still have a guide on what his best trip is, or do you just think he's simply a really good, versatile horse?
Yeah, I think he's just a very good horse. And I think probably, 18 a mile to 2,000 metres is probably his ideal. He's probably, unlucky not to win a Guineas, unlucky not to win a Northerly. So, his luck's escaped him, but he got it yesterday from a Peacher ride from Jared. So, no, there's plenty of upside about him. There's no negatives at all.
Got a text here from Mark on the Retrovision text line with a photo of you leading the horse back after a swim today. And he says, Tricky down, taking a lot of good men for a swim this morning. He's a legend, never misses a day's work. Every Sunday, never takes any holidays. He's by far one of the most hands-on trainers around. And it's great to see him get the win for Trev, Joanne and all the team. Gun ride by Jared Noski as well. So that's a nice way to finish it off. Nice text there from Mark, and well done, Trev. You enjoy the win, and hope you can butter up again today for a few more celebrations.
Thanks, guys. Much appreciated. Great group of owners in the horse, so I appreciate their support. They give me a lot of advice along the way, which a lot of the time hasn't been ideal, but we got the result yesterday, so we had good reason to celebrate.
All the best, Trev.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Okay, let's go back now and listen to the beaten jockeys.
Sean McGrady, why me?
Finished a long way back, so hopefully there's nothing serious wrong with him.
Jordan Turner, star rating.
Yeah, she's just had enough now. She deserves a nice, well-earned, deserved break. So, good on her.
Steve Parnham, beach pad.
Oh, look, he tried his hardest. He travelled up pretty well at the corner. I thought it was maybe a chance of running 5th or 6th, but maybe it's just a bit soon for him. He might come back a better horse next prep.
Jason Whiting, Royal Toronado.
Yeah, not too bad of an honest effort. Just lacked a little bit of brilliance when it was time to sprint.
Troy Turner, Own the Queen.
Yeah, she's a bit tired in the legs, but she'll come back better next time in.
Thank you. William Pike, Buckets Ridge.
Never travelled the whole race, but did really well to grind it out for second.
Clint Johnston Porter, Flash of Dallas.
Yeah, look, she just was a bit green, often on the bridle. She probably might just be looking for the paddock now.
Alan Kennedy, Knock One Back.
He went pretty good. Probably didn't handle the pressure being in the middle.
Chris Parnham, Alaskan.
Yeah, nice run. Just didn't get a flow into it.
Joey Azzopardi, Autumn Rebel.
Yeah, he went super, just wasn't able to flow from barrier 1.
Lucy Fiore, Lord Vampy.
Yeah, really good run. Followed the winner everywhere. It was just probably too classy in the end, but it was a really good effort on his half.
Michael Poy, Rocking Society.
Yeah, look, rolled forward on him, tried to really set a genuine tempo, but he just got there and was a bit star-shocked. Probably got away with pulling away from a Pinjarra that day, but in front today, didn't really take me into it.
Pat Carberry, Simply.
I got down on the fence. He relaxed really well. It was a moderate sort of speed. When I needed to get out and get rolling, I wasn't able to. He got out late and finished off well. He's going to be a good star in 12 months.
Cheers. Brad Parnham, In Good Order.
I thought he was pretty brave. I drew really wide and probably just had to use him a little bit early to get to my position. Thought he finished off pretty well, but probably just did that a little bit early.
Holly Watson, Grand Reserve.
Yeah, he just did it a bit tough.
There's the beaten jockeys out of yesterday's Schweppes WATC Derby. A lot of good men. Dominant performance. A winner by over 2 lengths. Buckets Ridge, Lord Vampy in second and third, but a lot of good men. Clearly the best horse in this race.
The thing I liked about the Derby yesterday is that the horses that finished probably top 4 or 5, 6, there wasn't any real bad luck to note. So It was just purely the best horse on the day. So a lot of good men. Given a 10 out of 10 by Jared Noski, finished off really well. Buckets Ridge had a very similar run to what he did in the Melvista, finished strongly, and Lord Vampy was as good a losing ride as you'll see from barrier 15, actually lobbed on the back of a lot of good men who drew barrier 3, pushed out underneath Buckets Ridge and ran third. In Good Order drew even worse, barrier 16, and lobbed 3 wide cover. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it, that you could walk away and just note that pretty much every horse had their chance. Rocking Society was a good effort if what Trevor said was right. The fastest Derby in the last 10 years, led them up, rolled along and hung on to run 5th when the Breeze horse ran last. Thought that was a nice effort. And Autumn Rebel, he looked really well yesterday, the colt. And I've sort of thought he was coming towards the end of his preparation, but I thought his effort wasn't too bad.
Own the Queen, she started second or third favourite at $5.50, and as Troy Turner mentioned, she was just racing on tired legs, so she'll go to the paddock now. She's been an absolute star of our Autumn Carnival.
Really excited to see her come back next preparation. She looks pretty special.
Okay, race number 8 was the Strange Love Handicap over the 1,400 metres.
Rio, Princess in Red, the inside. Fly with Caution, one off and out 3 wide as they come to the turners. Keep attacking. Then Ocean Zara. Well back are Fast Flicker and Hemlock Stoners are about to wheel in, followed by Recalled and Galaxy Affair as last. Boab Boy was first to see the judge, but Here for Checks getting closer. Then Princess in Red over on the inside and Fly with Caution on the outside. Down towards the 100. Fly with Caution races up now to Boab Boy. Late Fast Flicker, but it's all over. Fly with Caution wins again. Fly with Caution from either Boab Boy or Fast Flicker. Photo fourth. Recalled was
okay,
there.
Fly with Caution. Robert Whitten and Michael Poi combined.
Nice win, really nice horse. I'm a fan of this horse, but I certainly didn't expect him to win in the manner in which he did yesterday. He just looks relatively bomb-proof. He has tactical speed to utilise good gates. Michael Poi made a real conscious effort to keep him off the fence there yesterday in the first 400 metres of the race, and from there travelled nicely, got around the heels of Here for Checks and just went bang. When you can see a horse have that tactical speed and a turn of foot to match it at the end of his races, he's going to go through the grades really, really nicely. I think the Whitten family have a very handy horse on their hands.
Yeah, absolutely. Can hold a spot in running and a turn of foot at the end of it. They did go really slowly in this race, so it was a difficult race to make up ground. The first 800 metres in particular was a lot slower than the others on the day, so Lucy Fury was able to get things her own way in front on Boab Boy, hung on for second. Fly with Caution sat just behind them, so I think it makes the effort of a horse like Fast Flicker, who had a pretty tricky run in transit, ended up getting shuffled back a pair when I think it was William Pike on Hemlock Stone made a move around to whip around him and around Stephen Parnham and settle in front, and that sort of spat Stevie out the back a little bit, another pair or two, but the way that he rounded them up and finished off I thought was really encouraging. Here for Checks, first up, no trial, was solid, and as was Princess in Red. Ocean Zara finished off really strongly the last 100 metres in particular as well. Unlucky runner Hemlock Stone just had to do too much work early.
Agree.
A couple of texts. Ben from Bunbury, he was very happy with William Pike's ride there on Ollie's Choice, and we've got one for you after this last.
Thinker got his third last. Currently Roxer got well back. Would kick a goal sun at the start of the field. 400 metres to go. Ultimate Command is the leader on the corner. Becca Lotti on the outside. Simple Logic. Madam Kisses coming through along the fence. Son of the Boss is wider out with Triple J and kick a goal sun as Becca Lotti had raced up to hit the lead. Madam Kisses coming through on the inside. Simple Logic still there. It's Becca Lotti though down at the 100 in front. Becca Lotti leading. They're trying to get to it, but holding a margin. Becca Lotti. Son of a Boss is flying through late. Joins Becca Lotti and they photo finish. Son of a Boss and Becca Lotti have gone to the line together, and Triple J is close up. Madam Kiss is there for fourth. Over on the inside.
Well, it was. Watching it on an iPhone, I thought Becca Lotti had lasted to win, but it was Son of the Boss getting the money for Jimmy Taylor.
Surprise photo result, I must admit, Mart, but there was a great story that made my day even better yesterday because Michael Heaton, our good friend Mart, he was in some form from the yard, and he tipped Becca Lotti.
It's not unusual.
And as he usually does, as soon as he gives his tips, he's straight out to the car park, watches the last on his phone as he drives off. And at 5:02, scheduled start time was at 5 o'clock yesterday. He's tipped Becca Lotti, and he has messaged Scott Embry and I with the words, statue job. And he's got beat in the photo.
Well, it was deceiving. It was deceiving.
That was the best thing that happened yesterday.
Yes. Well, you actually won the race, so that must have been okay as well.
No, that was just a concession.
Well, Lochie couldn't lose here. Trains the winner, he thinks, and manages the horse that got beaten, the rider that got beaten in a photo. So it was a win-win for you. But I was quite impressed by this win, Son of the Boss. I think I said yesterday on Inside Running, I thought it was a lead or lose type of horse, and that's what he had shown previously, but he showed a lot of versatility and almost toughness there yesterday. His last 100 metres in particular was really strong. He looks a really nice type. Becca Lotti, nice first up return. Triple J, I thought, was a cracking run, settled behind them all, gave them 4 kilos, hit the line stronger, was only beaten at neck. So I think next start we can be on Triple J. And a horse back in 5th, Highland Flare, actually ran home in the fastest closing splits of the race, is a maiden, was only beaten a length and found some traffic.
Enormous.
Big follow there, Mart.
Okay, text here from Snoz. He had 5 each way on Highland Flare. Should I follow up?
I would be. Probably, hopefully not in a Saturday race, but back into a maiden or thereabouts, I think can be hard to beat.
Definitely follow.
Okay, now before we go for the beaten jockeys, the final slot for the Quokka has been filled.
It has. Wild Bell will race in the Lindsay Smith racing slot.
Okay, so we might have a little look at the final or the latest tab touch markets for the Quokka, which don't seem to be in there at the moment.
They're not. The futures market's not there. What about the Karrakatta Plate? Did you mention that?
No, we haven't, but I better do this.
Bustling favourite.
On Racing Rewind, it is time for the boys to look back and determine who are the black bookers, the ones to be on next start, the horses to follow.
3 for me. On Patrol, I loved his first up run. Fan of the second up run yesterday. Zafira, she was really surprising to see her show that turn of foot late. And Beccalotti, I thought she was really nice first up there yesterday and the last.
Agree with all of those. 3 for me. Mrs. Spree, I thought was a cracking run. New Music had no luck. And Highland Flair back into a maiden. 1 or 2 word answer, Lochie. Who wins the Karrakatta?
Ooh,
I will say Bustling.
Currently 325, Siren Assault 420, Golden Kathleen 5, Earth Stormers 9, Sadrima Lot 10, Heavy Metal out there at 13. What's your thought at this stage, Michael?
I will say Golden Kathleen.
Golden Kathleen. One to follow from yesterday. I thought Tactics caught my eye in that first event. You said it's a very nice looking horse in the yard by Rommel.
Yes, 3-year-old next preparation. I think will be a nice horse.
Thanks for coming in. Lot, where are you off to, mate? I'm concerned.
Church.
You wouldn't be going to...
I thought he was off to court or something. The way he's
the Narrogin Cup dressed
well,
like
they've
that.
got him again.
Don't worry about that. Now, Narrogin Cup today, don't forget about that, punters. It is race number 7 down there at Narrogin. Time to go at 4:20, sponsored by Swan Dwarft. And it's $1.90 favourite Lord Gannicus. Thanks to Soph for her work in the background today, doing all the hard work, Leah Ernest, to take you through the morning into the afternoon. That's it. Enjoy your Sunday.
Go the Eagles.